Hi boys, today we're going to make one of your favorites, homemade macaroni and cheese. So let's get started and let's talk about the most important ingredient, which is your cheese. I want you to get 8 ounces of extra sharp cheddar cheese. This is Papa's favorite and this is what really makes it yummy. So cheddar cheese, and then you're also going to need cornstarch. This is going to be in your baking aisle. You're going to need salt, ground pepper, and I like the coarse ground with the bigger pieces. You're also going to need breadcrumbs, butter, dry mustard, and that's going to be in your baking aisle as well. You're going to need some milk. You're going to need just a little bit of oil, and you're also going to need pasta. Now I'm using ruffle pasta, but you can also use elbow pasta or the shell pasta. Let's also talk about the tools that we're going to need. We're going to start with a big pot that you're going to use to boil your pasta in. So you need a good sized pot, and then to strain the pasta, you're going to need a colander. You're going to need a nice casserole dish. I have this one that's a ceramic one, but you can also use glass in there. You're going to need your measuring cups, measuring spoons. You're going to need a whisk. I have just a small one I'm going to use for this. And you're also going to need a cheese grater. And I also need you to go ahead and set your oven for 375, and let's get the temperature set for that. So go ahead and do that and we'll be right back. Okay, so what I've done is I have my pot and I've filled it up about halfway full with water, and I've taken it to a rapid boil. There's lots of bubbles coming out, and I'm going to go ahead and add my pasta. Now with this one, I only want you to use 2.5 cups of pasta. So let me go ahead and measure that in. There's 1, there's 2, and 2.5 cups, okay? And then I'm going to add just a dab of oil, and this is going to keep your pasta from sticking together. So just very carefully, just ever so much, just a little tiny bit, just about that much. And I have my, right now my stove is set on 9. I'm going to keep it on 9 and I'm going to stir it. And I'm going to set my timer for 11 minutes. Now every couple of minutes I'm going to come over here and I'm going to stir it, scraping the bottom of the pan. This is going to keep it from sticking until it's done. So go ahead and do that, and then we're going to get started on our next step in just a minute, okay? Okay, so while our pasta is cooking, we're going to do some basic prep work. And the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and shred our cheese. Now, you could have gotten some cheese that already has shredded. That's fine. Make sure it's cheddar, though. And you can use a yellow cheddar or an orange cheddar. I have the white cheddar. So I've got my grater, and I'm going to go ahead and just grate this really quick. Be really careful when you do this because this has sharp edges, and I don't want you guys to cut yourself. So just be really careful. So go ahead and grate the entire thing, and then we'll get started on the next step, okay? Okay, so now we're going to get started on what's called the white sauce portion of this particular recipe. So I want you to go ahead and grab your cornstarch and your tablespoon, and I want you to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch into the actual casserole dish that you're going to use to bake your macaroni and cheese in. So there's 1 and 2. And next comes the salt, so I want you to get your teaspoon measure and add 1 teaspoon of salt and dump that in as well. Next is the dry mustard. Okay, mine actually is in a little spice container, but go ahead and get your dry mustard out, and you're going to use 1 teaspoon of that as well. So I've kind of tapped that on the side to get it measured off a little bit to the top. And then last but not least, we're going to add the coarse ground pepper. If you just have regular pepper, that's fine. And you're going to use 1/2 teaspoon of the pepper. Now you see I've got this little whisk. You can use the big whisk if you want to. And you're just going to kind of stir that in together. Okay, the trick with white sauce is you want to avoid lumps. And I'm going to teach you the best way to do this. This also works when you're making gravy. The whole trick of that is to add your liquid just a little bit at a time. Now the total amount of milk that we're going to use for this is 2.5 cups. What we're going to do is we're going to start with just 1/2 cup. So I've got my 1/2 cup measure, and I'm going to dump this into my bowl, and then I'm going to use my whisk, and I'm going to stir it really well until all the dry ingredients are stirred in and there's no lumps at all, okay? And then go ahead and repeat and add 2 more cups. So you've added 1/2 cup, add 2 more cups of milk and stir it the same way, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so I've added a total of 2.5 cups of milk, and this is what my white sauce looks like. You see that? No lumps at all. Now I'm going to put it in the microwave, and I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes. When 3 minutes is up, I'm going to use my whisk, and I'm going to stir it again really well. I'm going to scrape the bottom, make sure that there's nothing sticking to the bottom. And I'm going to then put it back in the microwave and then cook it for another 3 minutes, and I'm going to repeat that process. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so I've put my white sauce in the microwave. I've stirred it twice, cooked it for 6 minutes. And while I was over there, I went ahead and gave my pasta a good stir too. Remember, you have to keep stirring it every once in a while to keep it from sticking to the bottom. So this is what my sauce looks like. You see, it's kind of thick. That's what you want yours to look like. And now I have my margarine, and I'm going to cut 2 tablespoons of margarine into the sauce, okay? So there is 1 tablespoon and 2. And I'm going to use my spoon, and I'm just going to stir that in until it melts, okay? And we're just about done now. This is really quick. We're almost done with the white sauce. Next, I have my cheese. Remember, we grated that up. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put all but just a tiny handful, like maybe this much. Set this much aside. Put the rest in your white sauce. So I'm going to do that now. And let me show you what that looks like. And then go ahead and stir until all the cheese is melted in. And then we'll be back for our last stage before we put it in the oven. Okay, so what we have now is we have our white sauce that we've gone ahead and gotten that ready. It's nice and thick, and it's got the cheese in there ready to go. And I also have my pasta. By this time has already cooked all the way. The timer's gone off. Everything looks wonderful. And now I'm going to strain the pasta. So I have my colander. I'm going to set it down into my sink. And I want you to be really careful because the steam coming off of this can really give you a nasty burn. So when you pour this into your colander, pour it away from you, okay? Just like that. And then go ahead, give your colander a good shake over the sink. And that's going to get all the excess water off. And now what we're going to do is, I have the casserole dish that I have my white sauce in. And I'm going to dump my pasta in there. Okay? Use your spoon, stir it up really well, and while you're doing that, we'll be right back. Okay, so we have one last thing before we pop this in the oven. What I did is I took my breadcrumbs and I poured just a little bit in the lid, just about that much, and then I sprinkled them over the top of my, my casserole until I had a nice, just fine covering over the top, and then I added the rest of the cheese that we had set aside on the top of there. Let me show you what this looks like. Now, not everybody likes breadcrumbs, or you may not have any. So what you can do is use your saltines, put them in a baggie, crunch them up really good, and sprinkle those on top. Or you can just skip all that together and just put the rest of the extra cheese on top. When you get done, I want you to put it in your oven and set the timer for 25 minutes. While this is baking, gives you a good chance to go ahead and clean up all of your dishes and the mess that you made from putting this together. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back. Okay, boys, so my timer's gone off, and here's what my casserole looks like. Isn't that delicious looking? Okay, so what you want to do is set it on a pot holder or a cooling rack for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then it's ready to eat. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoy your macaroni and cheese, and I hope you're having a good day. I love you. Bye.